under the blinding lights of the courtroom. September 11th became a day etched into the nation's memory. The trial of Song Yiren, once a beloved actress and now a condemned criminal, had already been described as one of the darkest spectacles in modern Chinese legal history. She stood trembling, face pale but defiant, as the prosecutors repeated the words everyone in the room already knew by heart: death penalty. The country had followed every step of this scandal. But what unfolded on that day would make even the most sensational rumors seem pale in comparison. The silence broke when Song Yiren clutched a small black USB drive in her hands, raising it toward the judge. Her voice, yet unwavering, echoed across the chamber, "If I am to die, the truth must be seen first." The moment she said those words, gasps rippled through the crowd. The defense team scrambled to validate the evidence. Prosecutors objected furiously, but the judge, sensing the gravity, allowed the footage to be shown. The lights dimmed, and the screen flickered alive. What the nation saw next would haunt them forever. The video began with Menglong seated in a dimly lit room, his posture tense, his eyes darting nervously. Yiren appeared on screen, her hands shaking as she held a syringe. Her voice, captured with chilling clarity, demanded compliance. "Injected. If you refuse, your family dies tonight." The words cut like a knife. In that moment, the glamorous actress was no longer the adored star, the accused criminal, but a messenger of terror. Menglong begged, his voice cracking with desperation, "Please, don't hurt them. Don't hurt my family." Yet his pleas were drowned out by her relentless insistence. The syringe pierced his skin, the liquid forced into his veins. Whispers erupted across the courtroom as the footage played. Some covered their mouths in horror. Others shook their heads in disbelief. The once celebrated starlet was revealed not simply as a murderer but as a woman trapped in a brutal chain of command. The video then revealed something even more chilling, a voice from the shadows. Deep, commanding, unmistakable. "Yiren. Do it now. Inject him." The audio analysts would later confirm that voice belonged to none other than Liang Zhanhu, elusive crime boss whose name had circulated in whispers for years but had never before been spoken aloud in court. The revelation of Liang Zhanhu's involvement was like a bomb detonating in real time. Known in underground circles for his ruthless control over gambling, narcotics, and political bribery, he had always remained untouchable. But now his voice, clear and indisputable, had been played before the entire country. For Song Yiren, this was not just evidence. It was her last desperate gamble to prove that she had been nothing more than a pawn forced to carry out his will. The judge paused the video as the courtroom erupted. Prosecution demanded to exclude the footage as irrelevant and manipulative, but the defense insisted it was the smoking gun. Inside the courthouse, crowds began to chant. Journalists swarmed the steps, phones live streaming every moment to millions glued to their screens. Hashtags exploded online. "Justice for you. Song Yiren confession. Liang Zhanhu exposed." Not just a trial anymore, it had become a nationwide reckoning. As the video continued, Menglong's weakened voice was heard once more. His words were faint, but unforgettable. "Don't touch them. I'll do anything." Fell into heavy silence as everyone realized the depth of his fear. This was no simple murder. Coercion layered with cruelty. A spectacle orchestrated by a man whose power extended far beyond the shadows. And it was clear now that Song Yiren had been both executioner and victim. When the footage ended, Song Yiren broke down in tears. She clasped her hands, trembling, her words spilling like a final prayer. "I never wanted to kill him. I was ordered. Liang Zhanhu told me if I refused, he would slaughter my family. I lived in fear every second. Video is my only truth." Her confession left the courtroom divided. Some stared at her with contempt, condemning her as the woman who destroyed a beloved actor's life. Others looked at her with pity, seeing a victim caught in the claws of a monster. The first part of this trial closed in chaos. The prosecutors, red-faced with fury, argued that Song Yiren still had blood on her hands. Who gave the command? The defense clung to the idea that she was coerced, manipulated, her freedom stolen by a man who had long enslaved countless others in silence. And hovering over all of it was the name that now echoed like thunder: Liang Zhanhu. The question was no longer whether Song Yiren deserved death. Whether justice could finally pierce the armor of a crime boss who had lived above the law for far too long. On September 11th, the courtroom became the stage for a truth no one had dared to speak. The image of Menglong's final struggle, the sound of Liang Zhenhua's voice, and the sight of Song Yiren's tears merged into a narrative so shocking it seemed torn from a nightmare. The world waited, holding its breath, wondering if this revelation would save her, or seal her fate. Under the suffocating tension of the courtroom, echoes of September 11th lingered like smoke after a fire. The screen had gone dark, but the images it had displayed still blazed in the minds of everyone present. Menglong's trembling voice, his desperate pleas to protect his family, and the venomous command of Liang Zhenhua, those moments became more than evidence. They were a haunting testament to the rot festering at the heart of power. For Song Yiren, the gamble had been made. Her life was already hanging by a thread. Now the entire country would decide whether she was a monster or martyr. The second day of hearings began with a crowd that stretched across the courthouse steps, banners waving in the hot air. "Justice for you," read one. Another screamed, "Bring down Liang Zhenhua." The people were no longer silent. They had seen the video, and heard the voice. And now, they wanted blood, not just of Song Yiren, but of the crime boss who had orchestrated it all. Inside, journalists scrambled for seats. Foreign correspondents joined the frenzy, and online streams hit record numbers. For the first time in years, the shadow of Liang Zhenhua is cornered by the light. Were called to analyze the footage. Audio technicians confirmed beyond doubt that the commanding voice belonged to Liang. Video specialists dissected every frame to the reflection of a man's face briefly caught in a glass panel. The features matched Liang's known photos. What was once rumor now stood as evidence. The prosecutors tried to argue that Song Yiren had acted of her own volition, but their words felt hollow in the face of such damning proof. Defense, emboldened, painted her as a tragic figure, an actress caught in the web of a ruthless puppet master. Still, the court demanded answers. Why had she complied? Why didn't she seek help? And then came her chilling testimony. In a trembling voice, Song Yiren described the nightmarish grip Liang held over her life. "He told me if I refused, he would slaughter my family. He showed me pictures of my parents, my younger brother. He said he could make them disappear in a single night. I wasn't killing for myself, I was killing to protect them." Her words rang out like a confession and a plea all at once. The public reaction was explosive. On social media, the hashtags multiplied. Videos of the courtroom circulated with captions like "The face of fear" and "The boss exposed." Millions debated furiously, was Song Yiren guilty? Or was she another victim? Petitions demanded the arrest of Liang Zhenhua. Protesters clashed with police outside his rumored hideouts. Candlelight vigils for Menglong lit up city streets. All posters with Liang's face marked with a red X appeared overnight on walls and subway stations. But Liang himself remained untouchable. At least for now. From the shadows, reports surfaced that he had fled the city, shielded by corrupt officials and loyal enforcers. Followers whispered of years of cover-ups, bribes to politicians, and silenced witnesses. For every step the justice system tried to take, it seemed Liang was always one move ahead. And yet, the tide of public rage was different this time. Evidence was too vivid, too undeniable. He buried in the usual ways. Inside the courtroom, the climax loomed. The judge, visibly shaken by the footage and testimony, postponed the verdict. Defense begged for Song Yiren's sentence to be reduced, arguing she had been coerced under threat of death. The prosecution, unwilling to appear weak, insisted that murder under any circumstances was still murder. The air was heavy with contradiction. Was the court trying a criminal? Or was it staring at the living embodiment of a system corrupted by fear? The final hearing drew to a close with a silence more deafening than the uproar. The judge's voice, slow and deliberate, across the chamber. The evidence presented is beyond dispute. The involvement of Liang Zhenhua will be investigated at the highest level. As for the defendant, Song Yiren, this court acknowledges both her crime and the coercion under which it was committed. The final verdict will be delivered after a full review. The gavel struck. The case was left suspended, the world holding its breath. Outside, the night of September 11th turned into a storm of voices. Chants, screams, and prayers rose together. Wept for Menglong. Others cried for the broken figure of Song Yiren. All eyes turned toward the same target, the shadow of Liang Xianhui. For the first time, the untouchable crime boss was no longer invisible. Name was shouted in anger, plastered across every screen, etched into the conscience of a nation. Days that followed, every headline screamed of conspiracy. Politicians scrambled to distance themselves from Liang. Police raided his known haunts, often arriving too late. Rumors swirled of secret tunnels, private jets, and safe houses protected by armed guards. Some claimed Liang had already left the country. Others swore he was still lurking within, laughing at the chaos. Whatever the truth, the fear he inspired was matched only by the hunger for his downfall. And as for Song Yiren, she sat in her cell, weight of the nation's judgment pressing down on her shoulders. She a murderer who deserved no mercy, or a tragic pawn who had finally exposed the monster pulling the strings? The answer remained elusive. The line between guilt and innocence blurred by blood, fear, and power. The story did not end on September 11th. It began there. That day marked the moment when whispers became shouts, when shadows were dragged into light, when the fate of a single woman collided with the reckoning of an entire system. The name of Menglong would forever be tied to tragedy. But perhaps his death had sparked something greater, a fight for justice in a land where justice had too long been denied. The final image the world carried from those days was not of the courtroom, nor the protests, nor even the crime boss whose empire now trembled. It was of Song Yiren, her tear-streaked face lit by the dim glow of the courtroom lamps, whispering words that seemed less like a defense and more like a prophecy. This isn't just about me. This is about all of us.